Short-term pain for long-term gain. Now, this is a philosophy that I've actually recently found out is behind the success of a lot of millionaires in this world. It's actually a philosophy that I first encountered in great detail in one of the books that I read recently, The Millionaire Fastlane by M.J. DeMarco. Now, this is personally one of the best books that I've read because of how much it's skewed towards business and how your life can be changed through a business. So it's certainly one that I would want to recommend for each and every one of you. But in life, we all want to grow. We all want to be able to get and make millions so that we can live whatever kind of life we want, wherever we want, whenever we want, without being stressed by people all over the world. But in reality, life does not offer us handouts. We all want to get the very best for ourselves using the limited resources that are in supply in the world. You know, usually people try to distinguish themselves through school. For example, we all go to school, we'll all graduate, get out of school with that degree of yours, and you think the distinguishing factor for you is because you had 2 more marks than your colleague. Because you had 2 more marks, you think you're going to be significantly better than the other person. Of course not. Yeah, the world is a crazy world, and you 100% want to distinguish yourself in a very different way from those around you. Also, a lot of people want instant gratification. They just want to make themselves happy and enjoy themselves because they have gotten something new into their lives. You know, you graduate, get a job, you're being paid $1,000. So all of a sudden, you are earning nothing. You are still in college or university, you are earning nothing. But when you get $1,000, your life is an $1,000 life. You forget that you are actually living a nothing. And the day you get a job promotion and get $1,500, your life immediately increases in terms of how much you can spend a day. So you immediately go and get yourself a new wardrobe, new clothes, you get a new car that consumes a bit more fuel. You really increase your level of living and your standard of living based on how much you earn. And worse still, some people are even willing to go out of their way to borrow in order to maintain these lifestyles, using credit cards. Some people to outrightly go to a bank and borrow money, you know, direct in cash, simply to go and spend on their lives, which is a pathetic thing. Ideally, you need to find a way of distinguishing yourself. Here is how just 1 year of proper discipline and sacrifice can change your life forever. It doesn't matter how old you are. Now you're probably telling me, come on, a whole year of financial sacrifice? Yeah, just 1 year, guys. 1 year is actually not a long time. Just think about it. How many years have you spent at the university, for example? Well, maybe that one brought a big change in your life. How many years have you spent at that job of yours while you're working? Yeah. How many years? Maybe 5 years, maybe 8 years, maybe 3 years. Look at yourself. How much have you changed? Most likely not too much. Yeah, not too much over the course of all those years. All you do is earn a salary, go, look after your family, come back and work the next day, get paid, go do the same things, and before you know it, a year is done. So in the grand scheme of things, a year is actually a really small time. It's just 12 months. But with financial sacrifice and proper discipline, it can change a lot of your life for the rest of your lifetime. Now, I'm not just talking this out of thin air. This is exactly what happened to me. First, you're going to have to accept that you're going to sacrifice 1 year. This is a mindset change. You don't need to think about it as a punishment, as a bad thing happening to you. You have to think about it as something that is actually going to change your life forever. I mean, forever. Now, that means you're not going to let any friends dissuade you. You're not going to let hardships or anyone in your family dissuade you. Now, of course, there's acceptable levels of hardship that might make you change. You know, the level of hardship that's going to get you to get out of this commitment has to be the maximum level of hardship that you can go through. So you need to sit down right now and consider what level of hardship would actually get me to give up on this, my dream. If you don't get to that level of hardship, no matter what you go through, you have to accept that it's only 1 year. After this 1 year, you can do whatever you want if it hasn't actually worked out for you, which I believe is certainly not possible. So give this 1 year, because this 1 year is going to change your life forever. Again, I'm not telling you what I haven't gone through. This is something I went through from October 2018 to around October 2019. This was 1 year of sacrifice in my life that has completely flipped my life around at this point. Okay, now we're done with that mindset shift. So the second thing you're going to do is you're going to do two things in one go. The first thing is going to be saving as much money as you can. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're married or you're not married, you have so many responsibilities or no responsibilities at all. You're going to have to put aside as much money as you can. That's called saving. Now, the minimum amount of money you're actually allowed to save every month is 20%. Yeah? But if you're single and you have no people to take care of, you can save as much as 80% or even more. Yeah, you can save as much as 80%. I personally, when I decided to do this, I was single, so I wasn't married. I didn't have people to take care of, so I didn't have any huge responsibilities. I could manage to save 80% on the bad months, and sometimes up to 100%. Sometimes I could live on the 20% I saved the previous month for 2 months. Yeah, so save as much as you can. And if you're married or you have people who you need to look after, well, it's going to be a bit harder for you, but remember, this is 1 year of sacrifice. So you're going to live on the bare minimum that you can. Remember, the minimum you can save is 20%. So at least 20% or a little more than that. So how are you going to manage to save? I'll give you a few tips. Number one, if you can live with friends, you know, if you've been living alone and you've been renting, get out of that house. Get some 2 friends with whom you can share goals and then move in and live together so that you can share your rent bill. Number 2, you're going to have to cook at home. Minimize eating out as much as you can. Of course, sometimes you can't avoid it because of work and things like that, but avoid eating out. Cook as much as possible from home. That way you get to spend less. Number 3, minimize online shopping. Actually, do as little online shopping as possible, because the problem with online shopping is that it has this thing of slowly drawing you into buying things that you don't need to. You go online onto the website, and before you know it, you find something that's on sale, maybe a television screen that's on sale, 50% less. You don't have plans of buying a television. You don't need a television. But because it's being sold at 50% less, you feel like you need this television. So you'll spend, some amount of money to buy it on something you typically didn't need. You feel like you're saving, but you're actually wasting money because you totally did not need a television screen. So avoid online shopping. The other problem with online shopping is that after one thing, it will lead you to another, and you'll just end up spending a lot of money. And fourth, only buy things that you must buy. Yeah, if you're going to buy something, unless it's like food, something very essential, I would rather and suggest that you spend 24 hours thinking about it. Think about it and tell yourself, do I really need to buy this? If I don't need to buy it, then I can live without it. Remember, 1 year of financial sacrifice. The second thing that you're going to do while saving is to consider and come up with a business idea. Now, this is, of course, harder than saving because a lot of people are just not comfortable. A lot of people don't think that they can actually come up with ideas that can change the world. Now, this is it. You don't need to come up with a brand new idea of something that has never happened. You don't need to be Bill Gates or Steve Jobs in the 1970s where you're coming up with an Apple or a Microsoft. It's very possible that you could come up with a life-changing business that could make you millions and billions or trillions of dollars if you decide to think and be like, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or, I don't know, whoever, Elon Musk. But the likelihood is very low. There are high chances that you'll also fail after you've invested your money in there. So I don't advise you to do that. Just think about normal everyday businesses that can be run. The thing that we're going to be doing here is that you want to run your business in a unique way, in a better way from other people. But you need to consider a business which already can produce sales, where things can easily be sold. You want to think about a business like electronics, food, goods, consumable goods at home, maybe services. A proper business which is very easy to start up because there's already market demand around. So you don't need to consider and think about being a genius here. Just come up with business ideas. Now, at one point, you're going to get into, it's like a zombie state where everything you see is like a business idea. Now, that's where I want you to get. Because for me, when I was at this point, it didn't matter where I would be walking. Even when I would be walking and I see a tree, I would see a business idea in a tree because there's certainly a business idea in a tree. That's what you want, yeah? So you want to get to that point where you can see business ideas everywhere. You see a child walking, you see a business idea in them. That's the perfect thing because you're continuously thinking about it. Now, after some time, of course, after you've considered a lot of these business ideas, you're going to come up with maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 business ideas. Don't come up with too many. Maybe 3 or 4 would be a good option. And after you've gotten to this point, move around and visit as many business owners owners as possible, as many as possible. Yeah. So the more you spend time visiting business owners, the more you get to learn from them, the mistakes that can be made, the things that they have done to be able to get to where they are, the mistakes that they have made in the past, the things that they can teach you. Visiting business owners is very, very good because it stops you from starting from zero. You're not like going to start with nothing when you know completely nothing. You're actually going to start from a particular point. So it's something that I advise you to do. Also, while doing this, I advise you to read up and learn as much as you can about the business. Sometimes you'll be unlucky and all the business owners you visit are actually business owners who have done things the wrong way. Yeah, they actually are existing and still in business, but they're not growing as quickly as they could have grown because they're doing things the wrong way. So I advise you to also read up as much as possible and then go and visit other business owners with these points that you've read up in your mind, and then you can see how they can be easily applied in your field. For me, this is something that I actually did. I finally came up with the final decision that I was going to do farming. I first went into greenhouse farming as an idea and then finally zeroed down on poultry farming. And like I've told you, I was saving a lot of money. So at some point I got to around 4,000 US dollars in terms of saving. After maybe a few months, I came up to 4,000 US dollars. And then I used this money to start a business. And then I continued saving more to enable the business to grow. Yeah. And this is what has actually brought me up to this point in my life. And then number 3, so you've come up with these business ideas, start a business. Now, I am concentrating a lot on starting a business and not on the other things that you can actually invest in, because a business is the most likely way that you're going to be able to transform your life. You can invest in stocks, you can invest in bonds, you can simply do savings, but none of these things are going to be life-changing for you. You'll be able to maybe grow your money by 5, 6, 8% every year, 10%, but a business can grow your money by 10 times, 20 times in 1 year. So that's why I still insist on you focusing on a business. So you're going to have to put in a lot of attention in that business. Yeah, you've made up your mind, you've saved your money, you've started that business. You're going to have to give it a lot of dedication and attention. Now, this is where discipline comes in. Discipline in 3 spheres. Number 1, financially. Number 2, physically. And number 3, with your clients. We'll start with financially. You need to make sure that you take out as little money as possible from the business. 10% maximum, get your 10%, put it aside and save it, and the rest of the money, keep it in the business. Put it back into the business. A lot of people, the biggest mistake they make is that once they start making money, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that a business can actually make me money. They just can't believe it. They're like, oh my God, my dreams have finally come true. Time to go and buy a sports car. Time to go and buy a new house. No, guys, remember, we want this 1 year to change your lives forever. 3, 4 years from now, you can take out as much money as you can because you're probably making $500, $1 million a year. But until you get to that point, I would advise you to avoid getting money out of the business. So you need to be very disciplined with a lot of caution. If you start the business 4, 5 months into the year, that means you still have a whole half a year for you to actually be disciplined and save money to invest into the business. Because remember, it's a 1-year plan. It's a 1-year dedication. So all the money that you're going to be saving for the rest of the year is actually money that you must be investing back into the business. Because remember, we are only going to start getting money 10% only out of the business after 1 year. So you need to be very disciplined financially. Number 2, you need to be disciplined physically. You need to be as available as possible for the business. Now, you might not be available physically to run the business because maybe you still have your job to do, and so you have to hire people. But how involved are you in the business process? Yeah, don't just start it and give it to someone to run. Like for me, for example, I could have started a poultry farm. Despite the fact that I was a doctor, I still made sure that all my weekends were spent at the farm because I wasn't working Saturday and Sunday. I still made sure that I was available every day on the phone call. I was involved in getting the information about the farm, what's happening. So use your personal presence as much as possible. Be as involved as possible physically in the business. That will ensure that the business grows and it goes in front. And number 3, you need to be very, very disciplined with your clientele. Your clientele is what makes the business, because it's a business and people are going to be buying either a product or a service from you. So you need to make sure that your clients are actually happy. A lot of times I'm sitting around with people and they hear me talking on the phone and I'm literally pleading and begging and, bowing down before a client because maybe one of my workers didn't deal very nicely with the client and then they have called me. And just like that, I have to act like these are my gods. You understand? Because I understand the value of the client. This is a big client for me and I'll do everything that I can to keep them. Yeah. So you need to make sure that you deal with your clients with a lot of caution because the clients are actually the people who keep the business going. They're the ones who are going to give you all the success that you require. Also, remember, whichever way that you've decided to build your business, make sure that this business has an online presence. You can't believe how much an online presence can quickly grow your business. Now, of course, in this day and age, everyone who starts a business will put it on the internet. But a lot of them don't dedicate their time and focus to make sure that their online presence is actually tangible, one that can be felt, one that's unique, one that's different. Don't just put your products on the internet and you're just selling them outside there. No, you need to make sure that you're actually very, very distinguished from the rest. Yeah. How can you distinguish yourself? For example, one way is making videos. Just like I'm making this video, you can make videos about the products that you make, videos that distinguish your product. Teach people about whatever field you're in. If you're, for example, selling gadgets, make some videos about the gadgets, about how the gadgets can be used, how they can be utilized. Some really nice videos. Those distinguish you from anyone else who just goes on the internet and just puts the phones outside there and they're just selling phones. Yeah, you need to distinguish yourself, capture people's experiences, client experiences, people who buy products from you. Go talk to them. You're like, hey, you bought a product from me, did you like it? Cool. They're like, okay, are you willing to just make a very brief, maybe 20-30-second video about how you found the service and how I dealt with you? That alone can bring a lot of customers your way because not too many people are doing it, not many people are willing to do it. So an online presence in a distinguished way can propel your business very far. And then number 4, which is the final major thing that you have to do, is actually pushing through. So what does this mean? Number 1, no wasting time on social media and TV. These are time killers. Remember, it's just 1 year. After this 1 year, you can go back to as much Instagram and TikTok as you want. But in this 1 year, we are trying to focus. We are sacrificing. We're not only sacrificing money, but we're also sacrificing our time and our love for social media and TV in order to be able to grow ourselves. So during this 1 year, spend as little time on social media as possible, as little time on TV as possible. Number 2, you have to kill your fear of failure. So I know that you've probably had a lot of fear and you know that you could fail. There's no time to think about failing, guys. Remember, it's 1 year of sacrifice. So you're sacrificing fear. You're sacrificing fear completely. If you are born with fear, it's just 1 year that you're telling yourself, I'm not going to fear. You have to give it your all. You have to give it your dedication. Cast that fear out of the door. If it simply means walking around your room, talking to yourself each and every day that I'm not going to fear, that's what you're going to do. 3, no excuses. Yeah, you need to take full responsibility of everything that you do. A lot of people just love to give excuses. Remember that you're 100% in control over here. There's no one else responsible for your success, and again, no one else is responsible for your failure. A lot of times, a lot of people, when they succeed, they take the credit, but when they fail, they don't want to take credit. You need to be willing and ready to not take excuses. So if after the first 1 month you haven't saved the 80% that you had told yourself you're going to save, don't give excuses. Tell yourself that next month I'm going to do 80%, and tell yourself that I'm going to come up with the 8 business ideas. There's no excuses. There's no excuses of I overslept. There's no excuses of work is too much. Remember, it's sacrifice. Yeah. So get up every day, dedicate a lot of time to thinking about these business ideas. If it means waking up at 4 a.m. and going to bed at midnight every day, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just 1 year of sacrifice. We're not giving excuses. Also, not keeping negative people around you. If you had any negative people around you, throw them out. Throw them out. It's just 1 year. After 1 year, you'll bring them back around you. But if you have some people around you and they're negative, they never want to consider anything positive. They never want to hear of any possibilities and new things coming into your life. Throw them out. Yeah, it's just 1 year of sacrifice. We're not taking negative people into our life because they're going to pull us back and they're going to cancel maybe 8, maybe 4 months of sacrifice that we've already given. Also, read as much as you can, because in life, learning never stops. I can tell you that for me personally, one of the things that has changed my life so much is the ability to read books. Now, I'm a very busy person and I spend a lot of time doing a lot of other things, so it can be quite difficult for me to sit down and read a book. But what I decided to do is to subscribe to an audiobook platform. So so that every time, maybe if I'm moving around doing some work, I can put on headsets and I'm listening to an audiobook. If I'm driving, going somewhere, I'm stuck in traffic somewhere, I can listen to an audiobook. So reading as much as possible is going to develop you so much. It's going to teach you a lot of things that you actually didn't think you ever needed. So read as much as possible to propel your life forward. So for me, by the end of 2019, which was maybe 1 year and a few months later, I had managed to actually start a poultry farm, which it wasn't a blast. I can't tell you that it was making millions of dollars, but it was profitable. And that one act alone, I can tell you, has changed my life, because it was able to open up my eyes to the fact that I can actually make money if I focus properly in business, in poultry. Now, at that point, I only had 800 chickens. Currently, I've raised tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of chickens on my farms. I make a lot of money selling eggs every year. I actually got to the point where I quit my medical job. I completely quit my job simply to focus on my businesses, because they were making me way more money than any of the medical professional salaries could ever have made me. I don't joke around when I tell you that just 1 year of financial sacrifice can change your life. So come on, the year is upon us. Dedicate yourself, give yourself wholly, and you're going to see your life completely change. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Catch you very soon with another video. Bye-bye.